This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'll call to order the Public Safety Building Committee meeting for Tuesday, January 23rd. It's currently 4:36 p.m. First order of business is open time for the public. I see nobody here for open time for the public. Review of minutes from the meeting on January 18th. Has everybody had an opportunity to review them?
There isn't one error that Chris caught, and that's under the bottom of the first page. We talked about various individuals that could be the voiceover. Incorrectly, I wrote Jim Labrie. It should have been Jim Palermo, and that'll be corrected.
Okay. With the exception of that one correction, we have, we would like to move to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Zero College Highway soils exploration update. I can tell you a little bit about that. On Friday, we had the meeting on last Thursday. On Friday, I reached out to Jim Labrie. I requested permission to go on to the property, for the town to go on the property to do a soil exploration. He accepted and granted that permission. He also offered use of his own excavator to dig the site. Later that evening, that afternoon, I went to the location where they marked off the markings for DigSafe, and DigSafe was contacted after our meeting, and they already had a number by the end of the day, had a number assigned. So it takes 72 hours from my understanding, and as of yet, I've gone by the location several times, and I know that it's been marked at least by 2 different entities at this point. So
Who marked them?
I don't know. I don't know if there was a yellow marking and a red marking. I don't know if one is yellow's gas and electric, and
Red is electric.
red is electric. Yeah.
But whom put the white marks up to begin with?
The white would
Public
probably...
utilities are required to come out. When DigSafe is notified of public utilities like gas, electric,
Right.
telephone are required to come out and mark the site.
So I was there with Jim Labrie to go to the site, and he had a representative from the Kent brothers with him to mark exactly where the site is.
That's okay.
Yes.
So Jim designated where the boundaries
Yes.
of the
Yes.
4.2 acres are, and so DigSafe is within that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So we're comfortable, that's all, that's good.
Yes.
So we know right where everything is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. As far as, it's because it's one parcel, so it was the parcel that they marked as to where the DigSafe would be checking for any type of hazards.
This is a little unusual because usually DigSafe, the marks of the diggings are right on the highway.
That's where they marked it on the highways.
But our digging's gonna be back behind, but
Barry, when
we've done...
we do the soil classes at the farm, DigSafe always marks Valley Road up, even though we're 1,200, 2,000 feet out into the fields.
Yeah.
But they just mark the road. I'll be honest with you, DigSafe comes down and walks in the barn and they pet the field.
Yeah.
But
I don't know and I believe I'm under the impression that's why he had Kent Brothers excavation there, to make sure that it was done properly based on their experience.
Yeah.
So the digging has been done.
The digging has not been done.
That's next.
That's next.
Can't occur until after the DigSafe.
So a number has been assigned. So
Right.
DigSafe was contacted. They have 72 hours to respond, not including the weekend hours.
Of course.
So
right, business.
by tomorrow afternoon, I'd imagine that they have to have a.
Yeah, that's what he told me,
Yeah.
at any time after tomorrow afternoon.
And then, did,
At that point, what was expressed to me by Jim Labrie was that it's just a matter of going out there. He had no concerns about timeframes. He said, I can just go out there when you are available, and we'll do a soil exploration.
so it will be up to the three of you
Yes.
to coordinate to go out there? Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Good.
What do the colors mean? You said the red is electric mark and yellow is?
Gas.
Yes, okay, sorry.
Blue is water.
Okay.
I saw,
Cable, telephone, I think it's a red as well.
I think gas was out there yesterday, and today when I went by was the electric. It was red.
Okay.
So the process is happening.
Good.
And then, Mark, you sent out the soils report to us. Is
Yeah.
this essentially accomplishing the same thing, but you're witnessing it directly?
Yeah, the soils map is a guesstimate by the USDA of what the soils are like. Generate one of those reports that I did outlining the area of concern. And to show that the two major soils in the site are Merrimack and Hinkley soils, which are very good. No groundwater to 80 inches, perfect soils for stormwater and septic system. So I have found those maps to be extremely accurate, including the division between the two different types of soils in my experience.
It'll still be beneficial for us to go because we'll know the actual real depths of these profiles, and especially where the water table is.
Right.
So that'll be valuable for us.
Oh, no doubt, because what they're doing is not, they're basing their assessment on soil types, not on any kind of excavation work. It's,
Correct.
yeah, okay, terrific. Well, it's good progress.
So I would imagine tomorrow I'll probably get a call from Jim Labrie, and I'll reach out to you guys to see if you're available to go out there, or when we're available, when we can make arrangements. Do you have any? Are you open tomorrow?
I actually am.
You are. Okay.
Next day also.
All right. Mark, how about yourself?
I have a 2 o'clock appointment, so I can be available before 2.
Before 2? Anytime after 2 or no?
Anytime after 3.
Yeah, after 3.
3 to 6, I have a 6 o'clock appointment as well.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
And is it the committee's feeling that we have to, if somebody's not available for this, I obviously don't have any, basis of knowledge on this, but Barry does as well as Mark. If somebody's not available, say Mark's not available or Barry's not available, or is the committee comfortable with one of them going, or is it required to?
I am. They're both experts.
Okay, okay. Just want to make sure that as long as I want to make sure if that's the case, just so we can get it done.
I mean,
And
that's just
that
me speaking.
people's-
Is everybody else comfortable?
I like the idea of collaborating though, for sure.
That's ideal.
Yeah.
I am available all day Thursday.
All day Thursday.
That makes a difference.
And if your 72 hours is maybe through tomorrow,
Yeah.
it may not be until Thursday.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Thursday might be the day.
It might be, yes, yeah. Again, I don't know what, I don't know if Jim Labrie will be in the area or not, but.
Whoever filed it, they usually give you a deadline as to when's the earliest time you can dig.
Okay. And Mark, Thursday you said?
I'm available anytime Thursday.
Okay. And Barry, you were?
I think so
Free,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
So this would be an actual perk test that we're doing, or we're just digging holes, we're just observing.
We're just digging holes and confirming the soil structure and soil type. We're not doing an official percolation test.
It's actually an exploration as opposed to an evaluation,
Okay,
just to split hairs even further.
okay.
How deeply do you dig?
10 feet, hopefully.
Typically 10.
couple holes, I would say.
Yeah, just a good confirmation that the soils mapping is fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Why don't you do it per fist? You just can't do it in that period of time, or?
Well, I suppose we could, but we'll probably get a pretty good handle on it just by looking at the soil.
Okay.
I'm not sure there'd be any point at this time in doing an actual perk.
If
right?
it's Hinckley, that's very coarse sand,
Okay.
and that's as good as it gets,
Okay.
pretty much.
Any other questions, concerns, comments about the soil exploration update? No? All right. And the next on the agenda is discuss single-story and two-story plan options presented by HKT. Would anybody like to start?
Well, we wanted some of the soil information to help us make a decision, because certainly there's more pervious ground on the two-story and less so. So I was going to ask, on the single-story building, is there significantly more concern or a larger quantity for stormwater disposal? It's a lot more roof. Or is that not a consideration?
Yeah, well, I mean, the amount of impervious area that you create increases the requirement for stormwater area disposal. But from what I did a quick look at the two sites, I didn't see a huge amount of difference in the roof areas of the two. There was some additional roof area with a single story.
So that's not really a consideration that we have to factor in?
My opinion is I didn't see a whole lot of difference. And again, the site design for both the single story and the two-story, as far as the parking pavement areas, it is still schematic, and it can be modified greatly in the final design, which can be moved around to accommodate sanitary and stormwater. But again, we don't know exactly what that's going to entail right now. So my personal opinion, that there wasn't a huge amount of difference between the two as far as the ability to place that structure and associated impervious surface on that site in the 1- and 2-story buildings. I felt they were both, first glance, both doable. Obviously, that may modify where they had the parking. Primarily, the fire department parking could be slid one way or the other, or closer to the building, further away. But I didn't have a major concern regarding difference between a single story and a 2-story as far as the site development goes.
Are you talking in terms of like a detention pond type of thing?
Well, I'm assuming that there's probably no, if there's going to be an ability to put in a surface detention basin, an infiltration detention basin, or if it's going to be a total subsurface perforated pipe and stone type of scenario, which could also be accomplished. And that can go underneath the pavement if it needs to.
And would this drain toward College Highway already, or is there storm drains?
I mean, it's probably going to have to follow the existing contours about where the water sheet flows. Most of the disposal would be subsurface infiltration. They'd have to clean the water before they put it into the subsurface system. Or if they can do a surface one, that's advantages and disadvantages to that as well. But that's final design. But the biggest question is there room to put stormwater and sanitary on the site? And anticipating decent soils, I think that's a pretty likelihood that the site can accommodate both. No guarantees until we get to the final design.
Anything about intercepting oils or anything like that on a paved surface?
Yeah, they will need to treat any of the paved surfaces water from the paved surfaces, both for solids as well as capturing the oil. Yes.
What do you mean by treat? Do they go into the tight tank?
No, the only thing that would be going in a tight tank would be any floor drains inside the building. The building code requires floor drains inside of a garage. And in previous other projects like similar to this, I've used the discharge from the washing machine, which they use to wash the original equipment that comes in from the fire department. They have it's an industrial washing machine, and that may contain contaminants, we're not sure, but in the past I've had that go into the tight tank as well. And that's basically, it's an underground tank which has a bunch of bells and whistles on it to let you know if there's a leak and if it's getting full, and when it gets full you have to pump it out and haul it to an appropriate sewage disposal site.
So what about the runoff from washing down the fire engines? Where does that
You'd
go?
be doing that inside.
Oh, you do?
Well, we don't, but other departments do, yeah.
Will that take place? Will that be the case in this new facility?
I don't see why not.
I would expect they'll probably design it with an oil water separator in the bays anyway, just to be sure.
No, Southampton usually washes theirs inside.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what the floor drains are, is that what you're
Yeah,
talking about?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our station over there, we don't have any. We used to have floor drains, but they blocked them off years ago. But now we have water coming up to from
Right.
where the drains are.
Right.
Or were.
Fountains and fountains.
Yeah, we've tried to
Free water.
plug them a few times and it just still keeps coming up. So,
Yeah, I was under the impression that the engines were always washed outside.
well, yeah, we do,
Yeah.
but
But that's not standard
no.
now. Okay.
Now, my regular truck mechanic job, we have oil water separators. And all the drains in the bays, and then we actually have a bay specifically for steam cleaning the equipment, and that all goes in the separator. So, and they come, I don't know how often they come, not that often to pump it out. Because it's like it says, it's oil water separator, so all that stuff separates and the water goes out.
But that's different than the tight tank. The
Yes.
separator is different from the tight tank.
Correct, yes.
Right.
Okay.
So-
And where do the contaminants that have been talked about coming in on fire equipment I know that everything that's washed.
So the turnout gear?
Yeah, turnout gear, but engines too. It's been said that they come back.
Well, I mean, basically, it's just like washing your car. We're not opening the engine and washing down the engine at all.
No,
It's
I
just
know
the
that.
road salt, basically, is what you're
okay.
washing.
Okay.
So, where like I said, my regular job, we do open the hood and steam the engine off for oil leaks and all that other stuff, so. Here you won't do that. Any kind of oil leaks or anything, we'd be sending it out anyway. So,
Sending it out to like
To
a
be
regular
repaired.
job, to be like in a truck
Right,
repair place.
right. yeah. So,
So the biggest difference though with the one-story and the two-story, aside from elevators, right? The two-story had much more green space around it, right? So that was
Correct.
right.
one of the positive things maybe they were trying to show us, I guess. Just to have more of a buffer between the complex and the neighbors over on, what is it, Lynn Drive. So I don't know what we think about that.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason for my question about,
Plus, then they say it would be like, what, $2-3 more million for a second story?
I think that's the biggest point.
Yeah.
The 2,600.
It's 2.25 million, I think,
Yeah.
and that's not including lack of an elevator. That was just the square footage.
That's right, yeah.
So wouldn't the maintenance be easier on a single-story building? Just the overall maintenance?
So,
I guess we have to maintain this thing once we establish it.
I guess my question regarding the two-story, was there any, ignoring the site, was there any advantage of the two-story over the single-story?
I think it was the green space.
Recall from the presentation.
I think the green space, I agree, yeah.
How about functionality wise?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, chiefs, if you've looked over the floor plan, what
I
do
mean,
you feel?
I personally, I like the one story.
I think on my side, both of them were fine, but, you know, the single story was a little bit more beneficial, but,
Just easier to
I like the
maneuver in?
layout, yeah, I like the layout a little bit better.
And that was true for you too, the layout was
Yeah, because with
more
the second
efficient.
floor, you're kind of separated more from the rest of the station, the rest of the building, being upstairs. So anybody coming in would have to either take the stairs or the elevator up to the offices.
Right.
And administratively speaking, the first floor had the shared administrator's office closest to our offices, or at least to my office, versus it would have been different with the two-story.
Just an observation about the, which one had the overnight rooms on the front end of the property? Was that the one story? That was the two-story?
Two-story,
Just
yeah.
struck me as strange to put them on the front. I realize that's just internal layout that probably could be modified, but to put them right on the highway.
But it's not, it's set back from the
Okay.
highway.
Well,
You know, the
you're right.
building is
It's on the
set
front of the
back,
building,
so-
but you're right, it's not right on the highway because of the driveway going down. That was just a,
That's the other question I'd have for the fire chief. How would you feel about having employees on the second floor that have to respond to the first floor to get the ambulance?
Well, the second floor on this design here was just all the office space. The bunk rooms will be on the first floor in either design. So,
Isn't that what that pole is for?
Yeah, right, exactly, that's what
I don't think they have poles
No?
anymore.
It could be an OSHA regulation, you think?
Yeah, too many guys are.
We moved the pole from the East Hampton Fire Station to the new public safety complex, designed it in there, put it in there, and then locked it out because nobody could use it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's there.
Yeah. What was happening was guys would get up in the middle of the night, you'd run into the pole, and they would trip, and
Yikes.
so.
And it didn't matter how much padding you put on the floor down below. But Barry, if you want to see a nice brass pole, there's one in East Hampton Station.
Good to know.
As far as my opinion on this is, as of right now, single story I think is, you know, I'm more, my personal feeling is, I'm more swayed by the single story based on, number one, I've been very concerned about costs with this project, and that's a significant cost reduction, as well as the floor plan. That's just my 2 cents.
My vote is to defer to the people that are going to be using it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that you chiefs need to be the votes that are most heavily considered, yeah.
It's like most of it, I mean, if you think about it, I think the training room and the fitness area is the same, I think, on both of them, basically. Kind of in the central part, so
Yes,
you could access
yes,
them
so
there.
both.
And then I think your Sally Port, your booking area was kind of similar.
Yeah, it was.
On that.
It wasn't.
So it really was those administrative offices moving up to the second floor.
Right. And I'm actually seeing someone with the new police and fire administrator now. I'm on a second floor, and communication with her is difficult. You know, it's going back and forth. She's coming up the stairs to my office. I'm going to her office, and it's just not a compatible workspace.
In looking around area complexes, I think most of them have second floors. right? I can't think of one with the exception maybe of Williamsburg now that is a single-story building.
I think a lot of it might be space constraints though, right? Because I
Yeah,
think Granby's single story, right? When we went to Granby, the only,
Yeah.
I think they just had that in their garage bay, they had that loft for the gym, if I remember correctly.
That's right, yeah.
They didn't have their offices upstairs.
No,
Hadley was confined to the size of the lot. Most of these were trying to fit that footprint of land they had available.
East Hampton, Northampton are both two-story, right?
Yeah, but that's because East Hampton built on a brownfield.
West Hampton's
Oh,
one
that's
story.
right. No. Oh, well, it's a two-story building, but you're saying the departments are on the
yes,
single
they're
story,
all,
on the
yes.
floor.
Yeah,
The two-story is
it's unfinished.
unfinished.
I know,
Yes.
but I guess you're under the impression that that will never become police and fire.
Well, I don't know what they're doing with it, but
The way it was related to me at the time when I went there to do a tour, was they were considering that for future office space for the town.
Right, that's what I
Yes.
remember you saying, yeah.
We're actually a little bit blessed because the property that's being donated, they took into consideration how much we needed to build it and have some area. That's why all of a sudden it was, if you remember, we started at 3 acres, now we're up to almost 4, I guess.
Yeah, I think Williamsburg is one story, I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right.
And then Hadley, well, the Hadley substation anyway is 2 floors. There's a public safety complex on, what is that, Russell Street, I forget where it is. Somewhere there. It's got a community, I've been there for community meetings for other purposes, but that's a 2-story one.
I believe
Very big.
I think the one in Williamsburg is 2 stories too.
Definitely look at it from the outside.
But they're all confined to the amount of
Yeah.
land they had available.
I just feel it's important when the town sees the potential price tag of this, I think it's important that we have demonstrated that we are trying to be as cost efficient as possible. I think that's very important.
And is there a factor for maintenance? Is it truly more cost efficient to maintain a larger footprint building? More roof, more building materials? No, not necessarily building materials, more roof. This is
I don't
just a
know.
question,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know either,
I
is
don't
that
know.
something?
Well, we have our elevator here, we have to maintain all the time, we have a separate maintenance contract here.
You gotta have it inspected and
Inspected.
permanent.
So it's other annual
Well-
costs, your elevator stuff, I don't remember what we have budgeted for.
It can range anywhere from about $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the typical year.
I mean, my personal feeling is I'd go with the first floor.
Is it not true that we need to remember that they're designing a building for the feasibility study, but they may or may not be the architects for the actual structure?
Yes.
Oh, very
So-
clear. Yeah. very
So,
true.
so we're not settling on anything, we're just giving them information to proceed with the feasibility study. So if we decide later that it should be different, then, I mean, we just need to give them information to move forward now to
Right.
complete the feasibility study.
But their feasibility will come with, I believe, a price tag,
Cost,
right? A
yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we have to,
And then, as far as this process goes, we have a cost, and then the architect is working, for the actual building, is working to design a building within that cost?
We have not given them an upset figure on the construction cost of the building. They're doing a feasibility study, and they will tell us what the cost is to construct that building.
That particular building, but if it's not the same building that's actually going to be built, the architect who's chosen to build the building is then given that amount of money to design a building within, or can the building
that's up to us and the town as to when they hire the final architect to tell them, stay within the building or stay within the price. It's a two-step process. It's not, nothing guaranteed at this point in time. We just hired an expert to give us what we think or they think, and approve what the best building is that can serve the town. And that's the best building serve the town. This is what it will cost to build a building like that. And then we go to stage 2, which is hire an architect to come up with the final design. And whatever the RFP is we send out, that is what that architect is going to have to follow, whether it's per price or just sort of doing the same thing. We want something, you build us and you tell us what the price is.
And as time passes, we already know it's expected to be $900 per square foot. If a few years pass, could be $1,000 or $1,100 per square foot, right? So it's all about time too.
Is the idea to get a price tag based on what is being proposed now, to go to town meeting and get that amount of money? And then you
I think so.
And that's what you give to the architect, here's your budget, and
Or go back to the town. That's one thing that I'm wondering about. How does this proceed? We're asking the town to commit X number of millions of dollars, and then you would think that if they've committed that, say $30 million, they wouldn't want us to come back asking for another 5, correct? So just trying to get an idea of process.
It seems like if we're spending all this time and effort with a design firm to design the building, that we have to be pretty comfortable with the ultimate design. And I mean, I might see that there would be some tweaks from the eventual architect, whether it's these guys or somebody else, but I wouldn't see a wholesale shift in thinking about what it's supposed to look like.
Chris, you're right. I wouldn't see a big change after this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
right now, the question, as I understand it, is are we looking at 1 floor or 2 floors? That's the question that's on the table.
Right.
Right.
And that's what we have to present to HKT.
correct.
Yeah.
I don't know that it has to be, I mean, I think we're generally in consensus that the single story is the better route to follow at this time. I'm not sure how far it has to be deliberated unless somebody has
I
a...
thought that was a simple answer. We're supposed to give HKT and,
Yeah.
you know, do the 1-story, do the 2-story, and then they can take off on completing things within the schedule that we
All right.
have.
So are we ready to vote on this?
Did you have any thoughts? You just came in on the end of the discussion.
I don't know if you guys talked about the soil situation before I got here,
Yes.
but it sounded good. So for me, I would feel better sticking with the 1-story building because of the bigger footprint.
Charlie?
Make a motion that we vote to establish it as a 1-story building for this.
All right, anybody who want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done?
Chief, do you want to send that decision on to
Sure.
HKT?
Yep. All right, next order of business, we have update on task 7 and public engagement
Before we
progress.
move on, could I just ask if we need to talk about what position or what will we, the Public Safety Building Committee, bring to the joint meeting with the Select Board tonight? And whether, you know, we need to talk about that. I know it's not on the agenda, but I don't want to run out of time. Does anybody feel the need to talk about this, or does anybody want to comment about what might come up? Because there's this whole idea of multiple boards and committees that are coming together to talk about need for land in the town. And I know this, I don't know, I can propose we have a different agenda item first. All of this is important, but
Didn't put any other business on the...
No, we
sorry, I
didn't.
didn't think of that
We did not.
before when you asked me. It's under any other business. I just don't want to run out of time. We can start with this if you want, but...
But I didn't put in any other
we didn't put any
business.
other business.
Oh.
Because I was assuming this would be an abbreviated agenda before moving on. Well, one thing that I was, maybe to, what we just talked leads into this. If the town does pursue the entire parcel, then the public safety building may not have to be confined to that particular area. And it could be more ideally or more strategically placed if the full parcel is at the town's, in the town's ownership, which would be beneficial, because I imagine that if the town were to purchase the entire parcel, there would be a complete envisioning of how that's going to serve the town.
Like a site plan for the entire.
Yeah, for the
Well, I think
entire thing, and that
the
could.
building would be the same design though, right?
Oh,
No matter
sure,
where they
but
put
it wouldn't necessarily be located in
Right.
that particular 4.2 acre
Well,
spot.
except are you now going to refuse the 4.2 acre donation? Because the 4.2 acres, the condition is it's used for a public safety facility.
Do you think
Well, that
means
could
it
be
has to
negotiated. Oh, sorry.
I just meant, is the understanding it has to be that spot? If, in fact, the town bought the entire parcel, would they?
I don't think we got to
We're
that.
not to option C yet.
We didn't
so-
get to that far in the discussion with them about
Yeah.
that. I mean,
But-
I think there could be the option to slightly move where we're thinking about, given that we would have the entire parcel at our disposal, right?
Well, if
But-
if the town purchases the
Yeah.
54 acres,
Right.
then it's not a donation anymore, it's a purchase.
Right, right.
Well, or is it, yeah, but again, to be,
Well,
I think to be
is it-
negotiated,
is it-
the acres minus the 4.
My understanding
donated.
is be a purchase with
Yeah.
the 4.2 acres donation inside it.
Yeah, I think the donation, in my head,
Right.
the donation is part of a bigger plan, so the donation would still exist, but purchase everything else except the
Right.
4.2.
Well, I misunderstood them because I thought option C was to purchase the entire 54 acre parcel. That would be a 50 acre parcel
Got it.
if
Yeah.
the donation was
Right, okay.
still
Yeah, I
included.
think-
So it was
I
my
think-
misunderstanding.
Well, we might not have articulated it, but I think the idea would be, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the idea would be that the donation of the 4.2 would still be a donation, but we would be interested in looking at the rest of the parcel to purchase somehow. So,
My question is, if possible scenario purchases the entire parcel, how does it affect us, the building committee, safety building committee? If we're looking at, let's look at a whole different concept of moving the building somewhere within the entire parcel, it's gonna blow the schedule totally out of water. And that's the simple way to put it. Yeah, we'd have to wait until the town made a decision, went forward with the purchase, had a site, preliminary concept site design for entire 50 acres so that they would know where,
So we
everyone
got
would know
2
where the best
2 year
location
delay
is,
is gonna-
everything, balancing every concept to be used for site. So if we're going to wait on that, this schedule is not going to be able to follow, in my opinion. And we essentially would say, HKT, you need to sort of, again, stop again once again until we as a town figure out what the next move is, or we can proceed with what we have and put the fire station, public safety complex where it's at, tell HKT to proceed. That's the only way we can get for town meeting, if that's our true greatest deadline that we are just the dog wagging the tail here, that town meeting deadline is what's driving every decision, is that the appropriate milestone that has to be made.
yeah, I think the landowners want a decision, certainly for town meeting. So, and I guess at town meeting, we had talked about, without thinking about the bigger parcel right now, but the idea for town meeting would be to present the idea of the donation, to have that accepted by town meeting, and to purchase the one commercial property for however many dollars, right?
Right.
And that would be the 2 separate votes, I'm assuming, at town meeting?
Yes, you would want
You
to
don't
do
wanna
it that
tie
way
them.
because you don't want to tie them together just in case town meeting doesn't want to acquire the front commercial lot. I mean, I even asked in their, shall we say, written letter to us, I even got into details asking if the Labries would be willing to say that if the town meeting did not approve the acquisition of the front town lot, that would not, shall we say, take back the thought of the possibility of the donation on the 4.2.
So town meeting though is to talk about two separate things, and we'd have to explain to town meeting, I think, town residents, what the plan would be for financing of the purchase of that commercial lot.
Front commercial lot.
And that would be all we're trying, so we're not going for any money toward, at this point, we wouldn't be going for money toward the building cost, although we would have an idea of the building cost
You would.
by then, but would we be asking for it then, too, at town meeting, this town meeting? That seems like a lot.
I would think it would be a lot, but, you know, that's not my decision.
The question has been raised, should we ask for money to continue with design at that time?
Yeah.
Because we would not be able to continue
Right.
with debt.
Right.
Well, Chief, you put forth $3 million, right, for capital improvement request above and beyond the
Yes, yes.
above and beyond the 590 for the land acquisition. There was 3 million asked for preliminary. What was the?
I have my file with me, but
You articulated it, Mark. Design and
Design and construction plans.
Yeah.
Something like
That was the projection based on a $30 million project. So that
so
we'd have that money to be able to go out with an RFP and hire an engineering company to actually do the designs.
keep on working.
right.
Yeah.
So that has been requested, and so that will be at town meeting. But but the Labries also want to know, or have it decided at town meeting about the
The full
50
park.
acres.
Right.
So, how does that work? If the town decides to go on with that, then does that vote come first? And if we decide to buy the whole thing, then we don't even bother voting on the commercial parcel? I don't know.
I would probably say, in my opinion, it would come third. You want the donation, you want the commercial property. The last piece you would like is to ask for the acquisition of the whole ball of wax.
And that way, if that doesn't pass, we're still moving forward.
Right. But again, so suppose it's the $20 million figure. At town meeting, we've got to present a balanced budget. So even the $3 million is just going to get us started on further design. It's nothing to do with construction. Right, so.
It's good, if approved, it would give you the design plans up until going out to bid for construction. And then at some point, when those are ready or almost ready, you'd be looking to ask for whatever the price tag is to actually do the construction.
Right.
So if I've got this right, there's actually 4 things that we voted at town meeting in this order. 1 is for the donation. 2 is for the purchase of the commercial lot only. 3 is acquisition or purchase of the entire 50-acre lot. And the 4th is for the $3 million. That's not going to be in the budget, right? It'll be
It's a capital request.
It'll be a capital request. Would that be in the budget?
No,
It's a separate warrant.
It'll be a separate part of the warrant
Yeah.
for the.
Just
for
like the $3
design.
million
All
would
right,
be
so
a
there's
capital
actually
request.
4. And then we're not voting at this town meeting for the money for the actual building or construction.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no way we could do that because without the actual design
Yeah.
work
Wouldn't
done,
be able to.
the guessing is getting too far out
Okay.
there as to how much we
And
need.
will any of these require the actual vote at election, at the time of the election? Will this be on a ballot for any of this, or is all town?
I can't answer that at this point. I can tell you with a high probability that probably, with a 98% probability, that 3 million would be on a ballot vote, because you're probably going to ask for that on a debt exclusion, but it might not happen. But if that doesn't happen, and you just put it on as a regular borrowing, then it would not be on the ballot.
That would be up to the finance team of the town to decide where to go with that one.
So the debt exclusion again is just to borrow the money until such time as the task is finished, right? And then it goes off.
Well, you're asking to borrow the money, number one, but you're also asking to finance that borrowing as a debt exclusion, which means it is part of a Proposition 2.5 override only. The restriction on it is that only stays on the tax levy until that borrowing is paid off. Whereas a straight operating budget Proposition 2.5 override permanently stays on the levy.
Do you think that'd be like a 10-year note?
3 million?
For 3 million?
Yeah.
Still $300,000. I'm guessing it's probably going to be more like a 20-year note.
Good.
Okay.
Ian's taking this in, okay.
All right.
Yeah. But I think that's clearer in terms of town meeting, what
Yes.
what has to happen. There's a couple.
All right. Are we ready to go to the update on task 7, the public engagement process?
Okay.
Would you like to
Good
start off
with
on
me,
that?
yeah, sure. So, John, here's a couple of items that I've been working on, and this is not necessarily the whole thing, but one is the table, and I need to have your input. I went ahead and added a couple of things at the top. Did you get a copy? Ed, here. This is the table. A couple things at the top that came off the U.S. Census Bureau site, which is the population, the geography, and the median household income. And that is up July 1st, 2022, excuse me. So we worked on those 4 communities, Southampton as well, Granby, Hadley, with 2 facilities, and Dalton. I put 2 others at the end. I don't know if they're the right ones, might be different ones. I think somebody mentioned another one, was it Great Barrington that was mentioned? And I think we could perhaps decide, do we need 6? Do we need Great Barrington? Do we dump off like Williamstown is larger and larger population, maybe they're the wrong ones to include?
I can tell you I have recently driven by the Great Barrington Police Department, and it's not a good representation of a comparison.
Okay.
It is an old building, and it's very, very small.
It's a house.
Yeah, it almost looks like a small post office.
Yep.
Yeah.
So don't use them. Then the question is, do we want to take off either Lee or Williamstown or both? Or
I would drop Lee. I would keep Williamstown, but I'd drop Lee.
why would you drop Lee? Because they're essentially the same population, a little bit less, and essentially the same.
Their demographics is completely different than Southampton. They're more like a tourist mecca. And
Yeah, okay.
you got Tanglewood and all the rest of those activities there.
That's Lennox.
Trust me, they're married together.
Well, and Williamstown's got the town.
Their median wage is way less than us.
Yeah.
Were these all the ones that we had, when you sent out your surveys, these were the only ones?
Yeah.
Nothing else came back?
No.
And there's some holes in this the other 4, which we can talk about in a second. So Charlie suggested we drop Lee off. Is that the right thing to do? We can drop that one off easy? Or what?
Lee, Lennox, and Stockbridge work together as a group, have for years in many different capacities, sharing stuff. So I don't look at them as
No.
mirroring us at all.
And Williamstown, do we want to leave that one on? And then,
I think it would be good to have
Yeah.
4, a comparison of 4 or 5, not just 3.
Me too.
Stockbridge is within their town hall. Their police department is within their town hall. I know that.
and it's not together with their
Fire department, no.
So does that means it's not the right place, not the right one to...
I just don't know how, it's kind of comparing apples and oranges
Yeah.
with
Yeah, yeah.
with public safety buildings.
Any other...
Do we know anything about Williamstown?
I do not.
Williamstown
It's got
is a very
affluent, it's got the college in it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's
sure
not,
it's a good chance to compare with that. It's population-wise, I get your point.
It's a larger square miles, of course, is that where Mount Greylock, is that considered the?
Mount Greylock sort of in North Adams. Williamstown is really at the corner of the state. I mean, the last time I was there, the town manager was furious with me because we shut down the whole, what do you call it, the mobile home park? And that was their percentage of low income in town.
Okay.
And we got rid of the mobile home park because it flooded.
Yeah.
So FEMA came in and bought them all out and turned it into wetlands. So that gives you an idea that that was their low income in the whole community.
Okay.
I think when the last feasibility study, we did a site visit, and I believe it was Winchendon. And that was I think that's on Route 2.
Yeah.
And they just recently built a public safety complex, and it was a very, demographically, I think it was very consistent with Southampton.
That's in a different county though, I mean, all the way over.
Berkshires are as well.
Winchendon?
Yeah.
Is it? Really?
Yeah, it's Berkshire County.
Sorry, okay. We can put that.
It's just a recommendation. I mean, I can do a quick Google search, just see what their population is, but we went there specifically because they were very similar sizes, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And it,
Any others?
You sure that's not Worcester County?
I thought, yeah.
it might be, but, I mean, we're looking at potential ones in Williamstown, which is Berkshire County.
That's right.
That's true.
You know,
Dalton, too.
and it might even be, it might even,
So is Dalton for that matter.
How big is Beckett? You had a.
Beckett is small.
That's real tiny, right?
Oh, forget Beckett.
Yeah.
That's in the basement of the town hall.
Yeah, 1,800 year-round and 9,000 summertime.
Yeah.
and Winchendon's a little bit larger. It's larger than
Should have
Southampton.
said
It's
it down
11,000.
Worcester that we used to
Okay.
work up there. Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah. That poor community.
Oddly enough, I'm trying to look at Williamstown's website, I'm not even finding police or fire, so I'm not
That's
sure.
a new concept for them.
It might be, yeah.
Okay, so drop off Lee, we agree with that. Williamstown still to be discussed, Winchendon, put that on. Any others before we, and would 6 rows be enough? I think that's enough for anybody to consume. I don't think we should go on.
Well, Chief just said Winchendon is
There's a
11,000.
population of about 11,000.
Okay, so it's
That's
larger than
large.
It is larger.
So we nearly twice.
You got 5 now.
Well, so that includes Southampton though, Barry.
No, Granby, Hadley, Dalton, Williamstown,
No, that we
Winchendon.
didn't do the other 2. They're just on there.
Oh,
We only really have 3 to compare it with right now. So take Winchendon off. Any others people can think of? What about-
Hamden, Mass. They're not on a public safety complex, are they?
I think I looked at them and they're smaller population-wise, I think.
Gee, I don't remember anything there.
I thought Hannah was a little bigger than.
I think they're around the same size.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if they have a public safety complex.
What about Ware? Is that-
Where's larger?
Where's larger?
Yeah.
Um,
Again, this might be Worcester County, but if we're exploring Berkshire County, Brookfield might be.
That's the one I was trying to think of. That's
Yeah.
a smaller one.
Yep.
What about,
Out by where?
Yes.
okay. Sturbridge, that's small.
Bigger.
They're bigger. And
That's bigger?
yes, yeah,
Can you check population of Brookfield?
sure.
And then while he's looking, depending on who we do, could somebody else pick up to get the information to fill in the spots for whichever? I'm happy to be the person who documents it, but if somebody else wants to make the call.
Well, I can, if we figure out,
Yeah, you can do
I can
it.
do the same thing there, email the chief.
But that's fire. And we
I could do it-
still need
I could
someone
do
to
it as
police.
well,
Okay,
yeah.
Great, okay.
That is, so Brookfield is 3,400 people.
Smaller.
So it's smaller. You think Ware's larger?
what about Warren?
Warren?
Or Petersham?
Peterson is small, Warren is
Is it?
small.
Orange is larger, right?
Yeah, I just had a list the other,
New
this was at a grant
Salem.
meeting where I had a list of
Warren is about,
towns that are considered small town eligible because they're a population of 7,000-ish or less, or
Anything come up?
Warren is Worcester County, and it's 5,200 roughly.
5,200 is kind of in the ballpark. It's Warren.
That's Warren, and would you check New Salem?
Sure. I think New Salem's very small.
yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Pelham, small town community.
Pelham's very small. They don't even have, I think they have maybe a full-time police chief. I don't think they have any full-time officers.
Yeah, this only takes it, it's rural and small town communities, which is anybody less than 7,000 population, or 500, or less than 500 persons per square mile for the census, so, yeah. Belchertown.
Yeah, Belchertown. How about Southwick? Is
No,
that?
that's larger, I just
Very
looked at that
well,
one.
Yeah, they're larger.
Belchertown's a little bit bigger than us, but
Well, Southwick's actually on this list, that's weird.
They-
Whately?
Whately does not have a full-time, they don't have a full-time police department, I know
Yeah.
that.
That's the trouble, a lot of the, I mean, this just gives a small town, but they aren't,
How about Deerfield, 5,000?
or South here.
Fairfield's a small police station.
They are, I did a site visit there for when I was transitioning over to regional dispatch, and their police and fire are completely separate, and their police building is very outdated.
So that's Deerfield or South Deerfield?
They patrol the same.
They do the same?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I have another appointment I gotta deal with. So, there's a quorum here if I leave, right?
Still, yes.
Okay.
So,
New Salem's just over
Charlie,
1,000.
you can look at this
1,000.
other thing, frequently asked questions.
Oh, okay.
While we're doing this, I'll just make reference to this right now. I got these questions plus 2 additional ones that I kind of went out to some of the people I know in town and just said, what would be your questions? And that's where a lot of these came from. This does not have to be exhaustive. And there's no answers, there's just the questions. But one of them was, Chief Dillingsworth, is Southampton big enough to justify having a new complex, given that we already have removed our local dispatch? We went to a regional dispatch. That was somebody's idea that we're just not big enough to have a new safety complex.
That's only one room, yeah. We're still big enough, yes.
As a town, as a town.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, Charlie, do you want a copy of this?
I have it.
Okay.
And I'll look at it on
Okay.
email when I get my computer back tomorrow.
Okay, super. So shall we finish up the conversation about this table? Anybody else?
I think we should, let's make a decision on who we're gonna reach out to, right?
Yeah,
So we had, Warren seemed to be comparative.
okay.
Do we need to make a vote on this, or we just agree? Just agree, Warren, everybody okay with Warren?
Yep.
Yep.
Instead of Lee?
Instead of Lee?
Yep. Any others?
I'm just trying to look at Barry, I don't know.
I think Barry's roughly the same size.
Not the same
Yeah.
size,
Well, that's kind of it, you know, that's one of the main criteria.
well, we need to know if they have public safety complex or anything that looks like a fire improvement. That's the challenge. I mean, we came up with the original list because you guys had
Mhm.
talked about who you knew, so I mean, I'm not sure we.
Petersham?
Charlie just said that was small.
Pretty small.
I tossed out that.
Winchendon, Brookfield?
Winchendon, we looked at, that was larger, that was about 12,000 there.
Oh, okay.
Or 10,000.
Brookfield is 3,500. That's too small. Hampton, do you want to just look at the population? I think I looked at that, and it was smaller.
So
Belchertown.
Ashland just opened a $30 million public safety complex.
That is out east, correct? Yes, that's out east by the,
Worcester County.
yeah.
Out toward Natick area probably, so it may not be relevant.
Actually, not quite as far away as Winchendon, but
Yeah.
in the same direction.
Looks like, according to Google Maps there, Warren has 2 fire stations.
Hmm.
Sort of like Hadley kind of thing,
Hmm.
yeah?
How about Conway? Sort of in our area?
Very small as far as personnel, I can tell you that much. It's a small department. I don't know if they have full-time police
Do
officers
they
there.
connect with Ashfield or Shelburne?
Well, their voters in May of '23, voters were considering an addition to the public safety complex. So, I don't know.
What's the population for this?
I don't know.
Adams or North Adams?
Well, North Adams would be the Williams, oh no, that's different.
Adams.
That's different.
Bigger though,
Adams.
isn't, that's an old industrial town.
It is.
Well,
I don't know how, it certainly, I know that there's a lot of crime in North Adams. I can tell you that much.
Is North Adams?
Their population is about 13,000.
North
Yeah.
Adams, Adams a little quieter, I think.
Yes.
If we think we need another one or two, why don't we leave it to the chiefs to do they know them better than we do. We can spend all night moving them here.
Okay,
Not
all right.
than anything.
All right, Warren is the only one we sort of decided on, and then if you come up with any other communities
Okay.
and you want to do this, and if you want, I can email you this.
Adams is about 8,000.
That's kind of larger than, isn't it?
All right, the chief and I, if everyone's okay
Okay.
with it, the chief and I will discuss and look into it.
And I did, actually, Christina, did you get the email? Because I sent it to you. I'm understanding that Yahoo is not a good email.
No, you did, and did I not send
I
it
don't
out?
think it came
Oh,
out.
well then, that was my
Okay.
mistake.
Okay,
But this is what you sent, correct?
that is exactly what I
Then
sent.
if I did not, it was not an intentional oversight
Okay.
or neglect.
So the purpose of this chart is to get comparable information that we can make the case for why we're doing what we're doing.
It was on the original
Yes.
idea, we call it Task 7, and they
Right.
passed it over to us. So it's Task 7. So I guess the other question is, what else should be on here? Is there too much on there as far as the horizontal lines? And maybe we can look at this at a future meeting to shave it down.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think, why don't we just get the raw data now, and
Okay.
we'll fine tune it.
Yeah.
sure, okay.
I mean, you want the most relevant information that any average citizen is going to be
Right.
interested in.
That's
So we
correct.
don't need every detail
Yeah.
probably, but
Yeah,
you still want, a lot of
I think
the
the
key points. I think.
The only other thing which is hard to understand is, how did they sell to their community the building of a new building? What kind of barriers do they run into? But that's very challenging to get that kind of information and put it in a chart like this, you know?
Year FD built, converted to a fire station, 1949. The additions were added.
Are you talking about Southampton now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
48 in our other picture.
Should we add to this Southampton existing, Southampton proposed?
Well, that's
a good
a
idea.
great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what we're done.
Right.
That's a great
This sort
idea.
of demonstrates possibly need, what we're trying to tell the
Yeah.
public, what are we,
All right,
what are
good.
we proposing?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And we can get that from HKT.
Mhm.
Excellent,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Chris, do you want to discuss your quiz? That was impressive.
I failed.
I haven't checked to see. So I sent it out twice, because Google and I don't like each other most of the time, but I checked the
You're not
box. I checked the box by mistake that blocked anybody that didn't have a Gmail account. Definitely don't want that. So anybody with any account, AOL, Yahoo, Hotmail, MSN, whatever, anybody should be able to access this. So it's going to be a 10 question quiz, 2 points each, mixing up both fire and police info. Thanks, Chiefs, for giving me some other details to.
I have so much more. I
Yeah.
befriended Dick Frary.
Oh,
So
okay, well, there you
he
go.
gave me everything there
Yeah,
is to
well,
know about the
yeah.
history of the police department.
Okay,
So
we'll figure
I
it
have
out.
so much more for you
Yeah,
when you
okay,
need it.
great. Because I think, so the plan is, so it's a Google Doc, so my thought would be to put it out on the town website, on our page, on the Public Safety Building Committee page. Also get it on the town official Facebook page, I'll link there, and then it'll eventually get out to other social media pages. But, and inviting, just doing an intro, inviting the public to join in and see, just play trivia, basically, about what they know about Southampton's Fire and Police Department. It's not collecting any email addresses from anybody. There is a question or a statement at the bottom saying, If you want to receive more information, so people would have to opt in, they would just give their email address, no name, address, or anything, and they can leave it blank too. Doesn't affect anything. And my thought would be to do this like once every 3 weeks or something like that, kind of keep it going for like I was thinking 5, so 100-point total score over the next 2-3 months.
Different questions each time?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And people got one chance to do the quiz, so they can't keep working at it. And I think, and so a question for those who took the quiz, you were able to see if you had a wrong answer? Did it tell you you had a wrong answer?
Yes.
Okay, should. All right. And did it tell you what the correct answer was?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that part's good. That's why I like to test these things, but I never know. So yeah, totally different questions like each time.
Only thing I didn't like about it, as I told you, it took me 5 minutes after the fact to try to figure out why I had 2 wrong, but I scored 16 out of 20. So do we want to tell people that it's 2 points apiece?
Okay, yeah, could do that.
So those competitive people like me aren't scratching their heads going, and then going, why is it out of 20?
Well, I thought,
Is there a second page I missed here? I only see 10.
Okay, I thought at the question level, I'll check that. I thought at the question level it said 2 points, but it may not, but I can put that in the narrative. So there was a little preamble, whatever, and I was just trying to make this more fun and a contesty kind of thing, and just telling people that if they want to, just keep their own scores over the next couple months. We're not going to check anything. It'll be on the honor system, and we'll set a floor, and you know, if the total possible is 100, then I don't know, anybody over 90 or something. I mean,
what about the non-Facebook users? Could we have this as a hard copy, like at the senior center? People could grab one.
I got to manually do it, but yeah, I suppose one can think about that. Yes, I know. Possibly, yeah. I hadn't gotten that far yet in my thinking. I'm just trying to get the mechanics of this down.
Let me help you do the entry.
So anyway, but it's so that would be the idea, and then I would just throw out there as a prize would be a ride on the fire truck or a visit to the. To the
To the cells.
Yeah, to the booking to the booking area.
We can even do, you know, I told you we're working on that program to start doing patrols, you know, like a 30-minute.
Right.
So that program should be completed by next week.
Yeah.
So we'll start
So
that.
the ride-along kind of?
The ride-along,
Yeah.
and then tour the police department as well.
Okay, well, all right. So, I mean, anyway, I'll be glad, it's not live yet, I wanted to give it a couple of days and have you guys just try it. I wanted just the mechanics of it to work, to see that it does work, which I think now that I unchecked that one box, it should. So at the end, what I can now, will be able to do is go in on the back end and see how many people responded. It'll tell me the most frequently missed questions. So that will help us maybe tailor some of our discussion. Maybe not, I don't know. The idea would be that it would, or tailor the next quiz or whatever. Yeah, that's basically it. So
Will you let us know when it's live so we can put a link on our Facebook?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. So I think, I don't know, I'd like people to, you know, those who haven't had a chance, just play with it over the next day or two. I mean, it takes 5 seconds. It's really not not complicated. Just go through it and pick something. And I'd like to, I'm thinking maybe Friday, I'd like to try and get it up, possibly. And I don't know, it's just an idea. I mean,
I thought it was great. It's great.
Brain dead otherwise. But,
One
I
other.
didn't see the quiz.
Oh.
yeah. Huh?
I didn't get the.
I sent it to Rich Fasoli address, not,
Oh,
maybe that's why. Or, well, or maybe, I don't know if it's going to,
I probably didn't even look.
I'll check, well, it might have gone to the.
iCloud.
Nah, I thought it was at the department, but I could be wrong. I'll check that. I'll resend it. What are you using, Chief? What do you?
Well, I've been using the fire chief one for
Yeah.
that, but I have a couple personal ones.
Okay, I'll check when I go downstairs. I might have just sent it to Richard Soley rather than fire chief. I don't know that now that I said that, but I'll get it to you. Sorry about that.
One of the things I think we need to discuss is that pamphlet that we want to have developed. We have the donated money. We got to get information over to John Richards. I just came up with some data here. There's a couple copies here. At some point, I think we need to discuss what we want to send over to compile as a pamphlet. So that I got from the former.
From the last
the
one.
last one, right? Some of the pictures. I thought that they represented the pictures represented some of the problems very well.
I thought that was outstanding.
You know, so I
Yeah,
think
the only difference now would be the picture of the turnout gear. We have lockers now, so they're not.
We
along
can
the
adjust
trucks.
that. We can adjust that. And I want to take a picture of our cruiser in the garage as well, but I think it's important that we decide what we want in that pamphlet for John Richards to develop.
Do we want the responses to some of these frequently asked questions so that that's in writing? And maybe I could work on drafting responses and have everybody give their input on whether they're good responses.
Great question.
Yeah.
You could,
That's a great idea.
part of your quiz, you could ask questions that are in the pamphlet
Yeah.
to see if they're actually looking at the pamphlet.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you definitely want some photos, but you probably don't want more than
No.
4 or 5 photos.
I think what I see in those photos are how old those buildings are. It demonstrates how old they are, and then certainly the space that the fire department has. It demonstrates how small the space is, and also the infrastructure of the police department with all the wires and how everything's just been, kind of, set up as time went on as we acquired more rooms. But I think that we really should come up with a plan of action for the next meeting to give to John to start working on that.
A narrative to.
Right.
That's right, yeah. I'll start thinking about the narrative to be edited by anyone else, unless somebody wants to start it.
As far as these frequently asked questions, would you like us, Cindy, to
Yeah.
answer these?
Yep, certainly, you can, if Christina could mail out, or
I
email out
shall.
again, and you could insert responses,
Sure.
or whatever you think of the responses, and if you think of other questions, yep. And then what about e-media, what's going on with them?
We're still waiting on their,
Still waiting, wow.
As we're sitting here at the meeting, I got an email that they sent it. 5:34, they sent out an email with the video.
And that's considered a
So I
draft.
haven't watched it yet.
I want to watch it before everybody else watches.
I'd like to comment on number 15. I would like to see that reworded and Taj Mahal
Yeah, I know.
deleted. I don't like,
Well, I don't either, so we could reword that, but that is the term you've heard a few times.
I know, but that's partly, I don't think it does us any service to keep
Okay,
rehashing that
all right,
name.
agreed. If you have ideas on rewriting it,
I think
by all
you
means.
just change the building, be designed with features.
Well, I think just keep putting in that word of Chief Illingsworth of functionality. I think we have to keep.
The new building to be designed with design features that look like a different.
Okay, sure, I can do that.
You mean like overly elaborate?
Or needless space.
Right.
You know, we're trying to pare it down to the essentials.
Most effective use of space for functionality.
Yeah. No hot tubs.
I don't know.
Can I ask, going back to the discussion of whether it's one-story versus two-story, I think they said they weren't going to do anything with the basement.
It's on the slab.
And I don't know what you guys think about having, or is it impossible to have something like a basement, even if it's sort of like what West Hampton has, where they've got an unfinished space on the second floor. Something that would be potentially developable to some kind of space in the future. I mean, we're getting bigger, and I just think
I think you'd have to put an elevator in, wouldn't you?
would you have
Yep.
to? If it was 2 stories in a public building at this point, code would require it?
Two means of egress.
Too expensive, becomes part of the square foot thing all over again.
But basement space is the cheapest to build.
Yeah, you gotta put your foundation walls in anyway, so it sounds easy, but when you get a commercial building, you have to have 2 means of egress and access for
Ventilation.
safety, plus an elevator.
Okay,
Natural light, ventilation, all that stuff.
okay.
But for storage, I don't know.
Well, I was thinking that over time that there might be some kind of public room of some sort, but forget it,
Well, does it have to have all of those things if it is just meant for storage?
I don't think so.
I'm not a building code guy, so.
I'm gonna say probably not.
So back to Cindy's question, I mean, certainly you don't need 20,000 square feet of basement, but I wonder, I don't know, I'm just
thinking,
tossing out.
Let's say, have some options for the future.
Yeah, and a partial basement that is just bare storage. I don't know, but it could be explored a little.
Well, the other question that's gonna come up, you do the basement, you still need the elevator.
Even if it's pure storage.
Well, you're using it for storage, you gotta bring stuff up and down, you've got ADA compliance, so.
Yeah. So if you got equipment or whatever you're putting down there, not gonna lug it up the stairs necessarily.
Yep.
Okay. I'd like to suggest that we close the meeting so we can get
Yeah,
downstairs for the meeting.
I move
Anyone?
to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.